I hope you just heard what Elizabeth Warren was saying about the importance of all the Senate campaigns, and in particular yours. It's a statistical tie there. You're running 3 points ahead in the latest poll. There were recent polls showing, Vance 1 point ahead of you. It's all very tight there. What are you expecting, and what is your campaign plan in these closing weeks?
Well, people are recognizing, Lawrence, and thanks for having me. People are recognizing that J.D. Vance is an absolute extremist. He wants a national abortion ban. He's called rape inconvenient. He's told women who are in violent marriages that they should stay in those marriages for the sake of family values. I mean, this is somebody who is so extreme and doesn't connect with Ohioans. And what's going to happen in the next 4.5 weeks, we are on the ground. We've hit all 88 counties in this state. We're going to rural areas, working hard in red counties, and we're getting a tremendous response. We've got a lot of two-time Trump voters that are coming our way. We've got a lot of Republicans coming our way. Rob Portman's former chief of staff, a statewide official, Jim Petro, Republican, all on board with a big contingent of Republicans saying we got to go with Tim Ryan. I mean, this is the moderate wing of the old Republicans that you remember. That's who's here in Ohio, and they're on board with us, which is why you're seeing those poll numbers and why we're going to close this thing out, and we're going to win this seat and shock the world with this race.
What are you telling Ohio voters about what the Biden administration and the Democratic Congress, Democratic Senate has delivered for Ohio?
Well, you're feeling a lot of what I've been advocating for my entire career on the ground here. The infrastructure bill is going to create 600,000 jobs here in Ohio. It's going to make sure we get broadband, clean water, new bridges, that Brent Spence Bridge in Cincinnati. We're going to get these things funded. And JD's was against this, even though Rob Portman, the moderate Republican senator in Ohio, helped put all this together. The CHIPS Act landed the Intel project, going to be a $100 billion investment by Intel and other companies. Average wage there, $135,000 a year. We're building electric trucks, electric cars, electric tractors, battery plants, solar panels. The announcements right after the Inflation Reduction Act have been unbelievable. And that's the next generation of manufacturing that we're doing right here in Ohio. And people are going to vote their future, not the past. And that's where JD is. So we're pumped about it. I think people are really excited, and they want someone who's going to fight for them in the United States Senate, and they know that's Tim Ryan.
What is your reaction when you see your opponent, J.D. Vance, get publicly humiliated by the guy who chose him to run, Donald Trump? And Donald Trump says to Ohio voters that J.D. Vance kisses my, says that publicly about the candidate that he picked to run in Ohio. And J.D. Vance just takes it. I've never seen anything like that in a Senate candidate before.
I thought Ted Cruz was the biggest, kisser in politics, but it's clearly J.D. Vance. I don't know anybody I grew up with, Lawrence, in Ohio, that would be that humiliated in front of the entire world, be called an ass kisser, and then 10 minutes later get back up on the stage and grip and grin with the guy who just humiliated you. Like, that's not how Ohioans are built. We want an ass kicker from Ohio, and that's what I'm going to do. And look, we're building a grassroots effort because people can smell the phoniness from this guy. We've got 350,000 low-dollar donors. We got this guy on the run. He won't even be seen in Ohio. He's afraid to meet with people in Ohio, one, because he's kind of lazy, but also he knows he's so extreme that he can't connect with Ohio voters. So we're going all over the state. He's not anywhere. He's even afraid of, like, some of the people who voted for Trump because he was so against Trump. Like, this guy's all over the board. We are asking people to help us win this race. This race just got called, moved from lean Republican to toss-up. We're asking people to help us the last 4 weeks. Go to timforoh.com. We are going to surprise the world here in Ohio, and it's going to be a great thing for the Democratic Party when Tim Ryan and Sherrod Brown are shoulder to shoulder on behalf of working class people from the great state of Ohio. It's going to be an exciting time, and I think a whole new version of the Democratic Party is going to come to fruition because of what we're doing here in Ohio.
How does Sherrod Brown win statewide in Ohio, a state that Donald Trump wins by 8 points? And what can you learn from the Sherrod Brown paths to statewide victory?
Well, I learned from Sherrod very early on when I was a young member of Congress and he was in Congress. This state and the economic issues have to be the focus, right? That it's the trade agreements. It's making sure we have fair trade, not just free trade. It's making sure that corporations can't just get away with offshoring jobs. It's not just about tax cuts for the top 1%. It's about tax cuts for working people and small businesses. And those bread and butter economic issues are the issues in Ohio. And Sherrod figured that out. I understand that in my bones because of where I grew up and how I grew up. It's the price of drugs. It's the prescription costs. It's insulin. It's the opiate epidemic. It's healthcare costs. It's better schools for our kids, robust joint vocational. It's about protecting unions and making sure that they have the right to organize and lift everybody up. Sherrod figured this out. And we're running a very similar campaign. I'm a different guy than Sherrod, but a very similar campaign. And when you run an economic campaign, even like Obama did against Mitt Romney, right? If you run an economic campaign in Ohio, you win Ohio. And that's why we're going to win. JD's running around with Marjorie Taylor Greene and the extremists, and Lindsey Graham, and calling for a national ban on abortion. And I'm talking about jobs, wages, pensions, and health care, and making sure that our kids have a good future. We're actually building things in Ohio again. That's that distinct difference. And that's why you're seeing the poll numbers that you're seeing. And that's why ultimately we're going to win this race.